This afternoon is our fourth session in Stories of Sustainability. It's part of the Education for Sustainability Starts with Teachers project. So it's funded by the Department of Education and Training Strategic Partnerships Program. And I'm thankful for the support of the EVE staff who join us this afternoon and the committee for helping me bring this event together. On our tour this afternoon, we are going to have a look at an urban school farm with Jak Dunstan, who comes to us from Footscray High School. For those of you who aren't familiar with Melbourne and the metropolitan area, Footscray is a very urban part of Melbourne. Footscray High School is a location that looks over the river valley, the Maribyrnong River Valley that heads towards Port Phillip Bay. So Jak from Footscray High School in Melbourne's inner west believes that tackling global sustainability issues starts with students solving real world problems. Jak's going to take us on a tour of Footscray High's one-acre farm to explore and explain the exciting past, present and future sustainability projects, including resident beehives, aquaponics, the tiny house, a wind turbine and more. Jak's the sustainability coordinator at Footscray High School, and the role involves coordinating energy, waste, water and biodiversity actions across the three campuses, as well as managing the school's one-acre farm. Jak's taught at the school for the last 8 years and has a background in sustainability, education and horticulture. So I'm really excited to share this afternoon with you guys and with Jak, and I'm going to hand over to you now, Jak. Don't forget to pop him on to speak of you.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me okay? Perfect. Yeah, firstly, I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, the Wurundjeri and Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation, and to their elders past, present and emerging. And we're just on the start of the Western Plains here, which is quite a significant area. And something that I try and do is grow a lot of Western Plains plants. So that's something that I try and do quite regularly. Two things that I've noticed today: amazing wattle, really in bloom at the moment, and I'm hearing some frogs in the background that I just fixed up the pond that had been empty for about a year, and the frogs have come back like very, very quickly. So two things that I've noticed at present. I'll give you a bit of a bit of context about the school, where it's come from, the history, and then we'll give you a bit of a tour of the farm. So it's a one-acre farm, and I'll show you some of the projects that we've done in the last couple of years and some of the things we might be doing in the future. And also just quickly, the mask, I'm sorry, I'd like to be speaking to you with my face out in the open, but unfortunately, it sort of mandates it. So the school, we're actually situated on an old quarry site. So where a lot of bluestone in Melbourne was quarried out of was in Footscray. So Old Melbourne Jail, the streets of London were actually paved in Footscray bluestone because of the ballast that they put into ships. And they would pull it out of a huge hole in the ground, and then they would cut it on the site that is actually currently the farm. So it's not uncommon for me to find huge boulders underneath the ground that are perfectly cut. So yeah, so the site we're on now was actually a stone cutting site for the bluestone of Melbourne. After the quarry was shut down, the site was the quarry was turned into a tip site and was filled up with a lot of rubbish from around Melbourne, and was filled up for about 30 years. And then after they got to the peak, they decided to build a school on top of it. So if you notice the school at the moment, it is up and down and all over, because there are, car bodies, there's things all falling down beneath the surface. There's actually stories of the fallen part of the Westgate tunnel being lodged in the ground there. So they disposed of the Westgate Bridge, they put it underneath our school. So whether it's true or not. Anyway, once they closed the tip down and built the school, they turned the site that we are currently on, the stone cutting site or the farm, into a community gardens associated with the school. So it has been a sort of a site for horticulture and sustainability for the last 50 odd years. And that's why you'll notice when we walk around, you'll see a lot of established trees, and there's quite a lot of established infrastructure here. So it's been going on for a long time. I took over the job probably about 4 years ago now. And we were lucky enough to get a federal government grant to build new buildings. I was fortunate enough to take over the position of managing this site about 4 years ago. So it's been a really interesting journey trying to weave curriculum with sustainability and managing a site. But yeah, so it's been a really good journey. I'm going to take you guys over to the beehives. So we've got 2 beehives at the school. We try and weave them into the Year 7 program, which looks at bees and biodiversity, and with a STEAM focus. So just bear with me for a sec while I chuck my bee suit on, and I'm going to get right into it and show you. We'll see if we can find a queen together. While we walk around, I'll show you also some of the cool features about the farm. One of the things at the moment that I'm really impressed with is a huge blossom tree that is absolutely covered in blossoms. But just bear with me for a sec. Alrighty. If there's any questions at any time, please let me know. I don't want it to be too formal. All right, let's go. So, just quickly have a look at the, I'll come over this way. Have a look at the blossoms with the bees all over it. So the blossom tree is going crazy. Anyway, so come with me now. You'll see over here, huge willow tree planted a long time ago. Over the back, we've got a large fraxinus tree, which was planted years ago. And then we're going to go into the area that I call the forest, which is quite a heavily wooded area at the farm. And then we'll come down here. You can see there's a large pond here as well. We have lots of frogs. All right, so what we're going to do now, I'm going to try, and I tried this out the other day, where, let me turn around the camera, where I actually did this with a year 10 class, and then we tried to find a queen together. But I'll see if we can do this now. Just bear with me for a sec. Okay. Cool. All right, so beehives there. We use the honey a lot for our kitchens, and also make beeswax wrappers with the Year 7 environmental group. Plan to do that later in the year when we come back. These beehives were actually donated to us, so we got them for free. I do have a passion for bees, so it makes it a bit easier to actually maintain them. I'm going to try and see if we can find a queen together. So bear with me for a sec.
Jack, if you can talk while you do that.
Yep, no worries.
We've had a question from Hayden. Anytime I mention bees at my school, staff are concerned about anaphylaxis. How do you manage that at Footscray? Yeah.
So that's a great question. So what have you guys, has everyone been trained up in anaphylaxis and how to use EpiPens at the school? So I'm pretty sure everyone would have. So that was a big thing. We have an EpiPen on site. And also one thing that I did early on with the beehives, and what I'm doing just quickly is smoking them before I open. So smoke, there's 2 reasons why you do this. The bees often think it's a bushfire, so they go to the honey to, in anticipation of bushfire, and it also blocks their pheromones. But one thing that going back to the anaphylaxis, one thing that I would do is just get a really strong policy for your beehives and get them, I'm just going to smoke them down here, and get it passed by school council. So I had to do that through the department, but the department are completely fine with it. So that was one thing. So legally we're allowed to have them, so that's no dramas. You can also see where we are. It's really quite, far away from where kids are. So that's another thing that really helps out. And also just make it aware to staff and teachers. I'm just loosening up the hive here. That when you go to a certain area that you might encounter bees. So if you do have someone with anaphylaxis, then they know not to go into that area. I hope that answers your question. Okay, so let's get a frame of bees out and I'll show you some cool things. So quickly, guys, I'm just going to bring it over. So I don't know if you can see that. Now that is cat brood. So I know right there that the queen is laying lots of eggs. So that isn't honey, they're baby bees inside there. So you can see the worker bees going over and just making sure they're okay. So I know there's a queen alive in there, which is pretty cool. I'll flick it over and we'll see if we can find the queen on here. No, can't see the queen. But the other thing that you can see, I'll just put it even closer. You can see in there, you can see little baby larvae, baby bees in there that haven't been fully capped yet. So you can see them wriggling around in the cell. So I don't know if you can see that really, really closely. So I can tell that there's definitely been a queen in here in the last 10 to 15 days. So I know that this hive is generally pretty happy. And you can see the laying pattern there. It is really, really quite close together. That's a great indication that the queen is a healthy, happy queen. If it's like a shotgun pattern, it means it's not so healthy. So that one's looking good. I can't see a queen on that one. So I might just get one more out and have a look. Okay. And you'll notice that I don't have gloves on. Reason being, really hard to work with gloves. And you quite often get stung more if you've got gloves on because you crush bees, they get angry. Okay, this is even a better frame. You can see here that the cat brood, which is the baby bees, is really dense in there. Okay, so that means that this frame's full of bees, and in about 5 to 10 days, they're going to hatch out and become workers. So let's have a quick look to see if we can find the queen on here. Can't seem to see her. Up the top, you'll see pollen, which is a good sign for baby bees. There's not so much honey on there though. You can actually see some of the baby bees actually hatching out now. So they're starting to hatch out. Okay, so I'll just pop this back and then I will tell you how we use this in an educational setting. Just bear with me for a sec. So, I don't know if you can hear the frogs in the background as well. I'm just going to put this back on top. And then we are good. Okay. Just bear with me for a sec. I'm just going to flick this camera around. All right, so I'm just going to take my bee seat off and then I'll have a chat about the way we use this and one of the cool programs that we run here to do with bees. So, all right, here we go. So yeah, like I was saying, one of the programs that we run at the school is a bees and biodiversity unit. So that's to do with STEAM, and students learn all about the maths associated with bees. They learn about science associated with bees, and they also design their own beehive. But it's not a European beehive. It's a native beehive, and the hives there are a great tool for showing kids honeycomb, brood, all the different life cycles of bees. So I highly recommend if you're passionate about bees and want to introduce them to your school, they're a great little educational resource. You just got to watch out they don't swarm on you. Okay, so let's keep going.
Yeah, and we have a bee-specific question.
Yep.
Frank asks, "Why is the brood box on the top of the hive? Is that a super underneath?"
I've got it's a two brood box. So I was scared that they were going to swarm on me, so I gave them extra room to lay eggs. So they're two brood boxes on top of each other. So it's just in anticipation of them swarming. So I don't want them to swarm. So give them a bit more room to lay eggs in the hive. That's the reason. All right, cool. So I'll just show you quickly around here. You can see that's the front of our school, and we've got 4 wind turbines at the front there, which I'll tell you guys a bit about those a bit later. Oh, sorry. So they're our wind turbines, and then we've got our olive trees here. And then I'm going to come over here and I'll show you this in a second. Okay. Our next stop is to do with our VCAL program. Okay. I'm just going to move this back a second. Sorry, guys. I don't know if you... anyway, so the next program I'm going to talk about how we try and incorporate sustainability at our school is to do with VCAL program and our VCAL program. And one of the projects we did last year was try and incorporate the paddock to plate style, learning at our school, especially in the senior years. It was a bit hard to do that. So what we did as a VCAL class, and it was a hands-on sort of practical class, we designed a mobile pizza oven to use all of the produce from our gardens. So this was a secondhand trailer, a secondhand trailer that we had at school. It was all rusted, and we had a pizza oven that was pre-made at Bunnings, and the students designed a project to use both parts to sell produce, to sell pizzas that were made up of produce from the garden. So the idea was, low food mileage, was using, sustainable products, and also making a business out of it. I highly recommend, as a business, because people love pizza. And also another great sustainable part of it was we were just using, all leftover wood from the farm. So the idea was to not, throw it out into green waste. And then we use the ash from the garden for our tomatoes and whatnot. So it was a really, really good project. And the VCAL students made a lot of money. It's just the reason why I brought it up. It's a great way to incorporate your senior year levels, because this sort of hands-on paddock to plate learning is a great way to get them engaged. So that's our mobile pizza oven that we did last year. All right, next one. We're going to go to our next little stop. All right, so the next thing I'll show you. I don't know if you guys can see this. I'll just turn it around quickly. Sorry, guys. You'll see this here. This here is another project that was undertaken at the school here, and it's an aquaponics system. So as a part of the year 11 and 12 environmental science classes, they use this a lot for water testing and also for understanding the nitrogen cycle, which is a great thing. But the really, really amazing thing about this isn't quite sustainable. The whole system was built because the water tank, and you wouldn't think of this, but the water tank at the school was burnt down, and there was a fire next to it and it completely burned. But the bottom half or the top half of the water tank survived. So they, it wasn't myself, but a colleague of mine, because they were really into aquaponics, decided to work with students to create a fully functioning aquaponics system. And it works quite well because you've got, you can't see in here, but you've got quite large silver perch. And you've also got some yabbies in here. And you'll see up here also, there's a large area where plants filter the water. And we use it pretty much exclusively for propagation. So a lot of our succulents are propagated there. I wouldn't think that succulents would be propagated in water, but it actually works exceptionally well. So we grow a lot of plants like that. But anyway, so that's another feature of the school is our pretty cool aquaponics centre. All right, I'm going to take you over to the garden section now. This is where our vet classes are run. So, just bear with me. Don't know if you can see that. All right. Ooh. Okay, so in here, guys, we've got our vegetable beds, and I don't know if you can sort of see it out there. These are pretty much exclusively there's quite a large amount of them, all raised garden beds, pretty much exclusively run by vet horticulture students, and we also have horticulture and permaculture in year 9. But I really love using getting vet students to do a whole lot of work. So I couldn't necessarily run this whole farm by myself, and it's been quite difficult in the last few months because of COVID. So we haven't really been able to get students in. So when we've got year 11 and 12 vet horticulture students on site, it's a lot easier to manage the whole place. They do all the whippersnippering, all the mowing, all the weeding. They grow all the vegetables. They do all the propagation. They do basically everything. I'm just there as a bit of a guiding hand. So I highly recommend, if you're going to do a lot of gardening and hands-on style learning, get child labour. It's fantastic. Or get students to do a lot of the work. It's really, really quite fulfilling. But one of the cool things that we did this year, I thought you guys might be pretty interested in it. We got a lot of these botanical garden style signs made up, because one of the issues I found was students had a real issue with understanding botanical names. And then also students from our Japanese and Italian classes didn't necessarily know how they related to that language. So it's been such a sensational tool having these name plaques around the garden, because you can really get so many activities undertaken just by having a few name plaques. The cool thing also about this, students researched it, they designed it in conjunction with the Japanese and Italian students, and then we 3D we laser cut it on our school laser cutter, so the students laser cut it. So it looks pretty professional, and I'm pretty happy with it. At the moment, we've got about I don't know, maybe 50 plants that are named in here. My dream is to have basically the whole school as a botanical garden, or a whole farm as a botanical garden. So that's one of the things I'm probably most proud of this year, is this the signage that we've got. I'll give you a quick tour around the gardens, and I'll show you one of the plants that I'm really happy with at the moment. Just bear with me. You'll see I've got lots of garden beds. And then this one here is my favourite at the moment. It's the walking stick cabbage, and it's flowering right now. It was on Gardening Australia quite recently. It grows for about 2-3 years. And then at the end of the 2-3 years, it creates a walking stick that you can actually use. So the leaves you can eat, and the chickens absolutely love them. So they've been feeding the chickens for the last 2-3 years. And I love it because I'm going to get so many seeds out of this. So it's so if anyone wants any seeds, come and see me. I'll have them in about 2 months. We're going to have bananas over here. And then the garden beds are looking pretty good. Although the broad beans were absolutely destroyed by the wind recently. I think I need to tie them up. They were absolutely destroyed. All right, let's keep going. I'm going to show you around over here. I'll show you just quickly. We've got a pretty set up hothouse in here. We're growing all of our plants, all of our propagation, and then all of our tomatoes are ready to go for summer, plus a few other things. There's some yam daisies that we grew from seed. Yam daisies surprisingly low germination rate for what you sow. So, but anyway, so that's our little propagation area. All right. Now, I just want to show you one thing that I found probably the most important thing for running like a lot of, especially the garden programs, is having a well-resourced and well set up tool shed. It's been I'll show you here. It's been the best thing over the last few years, having all my tools, all the tools accessible for kids. So you've got your gloves there, you've got your secateurs, you've got all your hats and your rakes and shovels, and it's all in quite a large open space. That has been one of the most beneficial things for me. Just allowing, kids to go and, grab gloves or grab secateurs when they need, obviously senior kids. It's been such a good addition to the school. So if I was setting up a similar gardened area, having a really well established tool shed's great. And we've also got all of our machines and stuff in here as well. So all our whippersnippers and mowers. But yeah, anyway, that's a great thing to do if you're going to start something similar to this. And we've also got a big shade house here as well. So we've got a hydroponics system, all of our propagated material. We're just about to get a whole lot of benching because plants don't necessarily grow too well on the floor. So we've just ordered a whole lot of benches. So anyway, that's our shade house. All right, now let's go over. I'll show you one of our pride and joys, which has been one of the inquiry lessons, inquiry projects from last 2 years. And it was a tiny house that was constructed by students. So this was completely constructed with the help of teachers, obviously, but with students over about 2 to 3 years. Really cool because students actually conceptualized this. They did all the designs, and then they actually saw it, put into action. The features of the tiny house, which are pretty notable. The main one is the sliding roof. So you'll see the roof actually slides off. And that's because one of the design constraints was it needed to be a telescope house. So currently the telescope isn't on that pole there, but it's going to be put on there. And then you slide the roof off and then you can see into the night sky. So it was a pretty amazing feat. And if you want to see some pictures of the crane actually lifting it onto the roof, the teacher who actually run this project couldn't sleep the night before because it was a windy day and the crane had to fit the roof into these 2 slots, and it was a really, really testing piece of work. But anyway, so the roof actually worked. It's got solar panels on the roof, which is pretty cool. It's hooked up to wind turbines. So you'll see the wind turbines up on the side there. Now, they were also constructed by Year 9 students, so completely constructed, put into position and then wired up. So that was cool. And then it's all wired into a battery system inside the house, and I'll show you in a second. Other notable features are the doors, which are recycled from the school. The school was knocking down a wing and they were recycled. It has double glazed windows on the side. So you'll see double glazed windows, which are pretty amazing. And then also, if you come inside, it's got a LED light system all on the roof. So these strips of lighting are all LEDs. So pretty amazing. So this wasn't myself, but I helped a little bit. But another teacher at the school is a really passionate sort of builder and designer, and he sort of saw this through. But it took a number of years, but yeah, amazing result to do this with a student class. I'm actually really hoping to use it as a sort of like a ideation station or a thinker's hut. So you come in here and you think up all your designs and all that sort of stuff. But I was pretty impressed by how it finished. I'll just show you quickly. You can see the switchboard there. That's was all wired up. Lucky the teacher was an ex-electrician because I have no idea what that all means. But there's also a battery bank there as well. So pretty cool stuff. So anyway, yeah. So anyway, so that was our little tiny house. I'm just going to quickly come over here and I'll show you. We've got our orchard over here. So we've got all of our fruit trees, and we've got our chickens here as well. We get a lot of fruit from the fruit trees, and the kitchen uses it in the home ec sort of classes. We freeze a lot of it. There's plans next year to expand our canteen program. So actually, you know, use a whole lot more of the produce from the farm. At the moment, the majority of it's taken home by kids, which is great, but we'd like to grow a lot more for the canteen program. All right, I'm just going to take you over here. I'll show you quickly. Come inside and we'll actually see the classroom. So quickly. Concertina doors open up to the outside. So it's a really magical spot when you've got a whole class here, and you can open up the doors and it flows out into the outside. So quite a special thing. And then all around the outside, you've also got stainless steel benches. So we do a lot of practice and stuff on the outside. And then one of the things that time for your online classes, I highly recommend it, is making little herbariums with your students. And this is actually one of the units with the horticulture students in vet horticulture, but it is just such a good pastime. It doesn't take much effort, but look at the Ceanocarpus flower press. And then you've got, you know, tree dahlias and things like that. Students absolutely love it. And it's such a good pastime to do with your students. To say, this building's also all wired up to monitor its energy. So we've got a central energy monitoring system. So it's great for students to see what each appliance uses. So I'll just quickly show you. Ooh, no, not that one. Anyway, so what we can do with classes is, if you put a kettle on the back switches and you turn it on, you can actually see how much energy is used per appliance. So that was something that we got this year, and it's made a huge difference to you know, understanding electricity and energy appliances. All right, quickly, I'm going to just sit down outside and I'll explain one last thing about. Sorry, guys. Getting all hot and sweaty now, guys. Sorry. The walking around with your mask on is actually quite an arduous task. Okay. The other thing I want to talk to you guys about is the school is moving into 3 campuses next year. So really interesting in the fact that we've got two campuses that are for 7s and 8s. So we've got campus students that are in year 7 across 2 campuses. So that's going to be quite a challenging task. And then we've also got a senior campus. Now, what's really cool and I love about this place, it sits apart from all of those. So it's a space that you can focus on sustainability. You can focus on, you know, getting in touch with nature. That's completely separate from all those other places. There's only one building here. There's a lot more grass and, you know, gardens than there is, you know, in most of the other campuses. So that's really cool. And also another great thing that we're planning is having all campuses use this site. So one of the issues to do with having 3 campuses is equality. So how do you address equality across 3 campuses? And one thing that I've tried to achieve is having all students being able to come in and use this site. Next year, we've got a really exciting unit of work, which is it's a design thinking inquiry model, and students from 7, 8, 9 are going to have a whole day a week where they do design thinking and try and come up with sustainable solutions. So that's been something that we're really keen to do. So if you can imagine students from 7, 8, 9 they're going to come to the farm one day a week and try and come up with sustainable solutions to real world problems. So that's something we're really excited about. Guys, you might need to ask me some questions. I'm running out of steam here because my mask is actually absolutely giving me strife.
It's a perfect opportunity for people to have think and actually to ask you some questions. And I think we probably have the capacity this afternoon, if you wanted to unmute yourself and actually ask Jack a question rather than me reading out what you said, besides Hayden's comment, drool, which was specifically about how organised that tool shed was, I think.
Yeah.
And Brian, you had a question. Yeah, Hayden gives me a thumbs up. That's exactly what that was about. Brian asked where you had those signs made, but I'm hoping that your explanation that they were cut on the school's laser cutter.
Yes, so they were actually, yeah, so the tricky part was not the material underneath. So that was the really tricky part. There's only one place in Australia that makes this botanical garden style plastic sheeting. So that was the tricky part. I can send you the link if you want. But after you get that, it's really easy if you've got a laser cutter. So you just do your designs on Onshape. So we use Onshape, and it's really quite simple. Put your design in there. Then you get your translations from Japanese, pop them in, and then just cut them out. So they were pretty simple. It took a little bit of playing around, but my greatest achievement was getting the Footscray High School logo on there. That was the hardest part. So yeah.
And we've got a question from Frank, who I'm going to read it because I know he's here, but I'm going to read it for you anyway. He said, "My colleague and I would like to visit. Would that be possible?"
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm more than happy to. So I love showing people around, and unfortunately, I hate this format with the mask and it doesn't really do it justice. You kind of have to come and see it. And if you want, Frank, I can show you around the beehives without. We can try it without the suit on. So
yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah. No worries. Yeah. You can definitely come and see it.
Okay. Well, how do I make contact?
Great question.
You got to unmute yourself.
No, he's unmuted. We can hear Frank.
I think we might have to wait until lockdown finishes, but
okay.
I reckon if you send Dominique an email, she'll probably connect us.
Fantastic.
I reckon.
Thanks, Dominique.
Yeah, no worries. But I'm more than happy to show people around. I think what it is good as an example is just sort of a small scale place with lots of different things. So I like having as a sort of site for sustainability, having a number of different arrows to my bow, or whatever it's called. So having lots of different things you can do. So what I showed you today was literally about 5 different year levels with about 5 different classes. So we have year 7 STEAM, we've got year 9 permaculture, we've got year 9 horticulture, we've got VCAL, we've got vet horticulture, we've got environmental science, we've got year 9 inquiry subjects. So if that's a lesson on anything, it's have your sustainability programs across a lot of different areas so that you're covering all different bases. And we're just lucky at our school that we've got a number of different people that sort of are interested in different aspects. And then we've sort of tackling sustainability from a number of different ways. Personally, I love the sort of horticulture and the gardening aspect of it. And then there's other people like my colleague who built a tiny house because they love, construction and sustainable construction. So there's lots of different things I can show you.
Fantastic. I look forward to it.
Yeah, no worries.
Thanks, Frank. Jack, I have a question from Romina asking about the wind turbine energy. You said it goes into the tiny house. Is it just to power the tiny house?
Yeah, so there's actually, and I don't know if I showed you at the back of the classroom. I'll show you right now, actually. So there's 4 different turbines, and you can actually see, it's pretty cool. You can see that's turbine 1, and it's got a PowerPoint on the side. So when students are in this class, they can plug their laptops in, and if they want to charge something. Can you see that, Dominic?
Yep, that it's got turbine 1 on top
Did
of
I
it.
freeze there?
Yep.
Yep, no worries. So you can see on the side there's a PowerPoint, so you can plug in, so students can charge their laptops from the battery packs. So that's turbine 1. And what's really cool, you can actually see how much voltage is being put in when it's windy, so you can read the meter. And there's turbine 1, 2, 3, and then there's turbine 4 goes to the tiny house. So yeah, the energy is used. I think the wind turbines aren't exactly the most prolific energy makers. So they're not going to power the whole place, but they're just great as an example of renewable energy on site. So yeah.
Well, with a really practical application of the energy that is generated.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I don't actually know too much about those. A colleague made them, but the students that were in that class are really good at explaining, energy and all that sort of stuff. So it was a great example of how you can teach a student all about, energy conversion and whatnot. And they actually constructed the whole thing. So they put them together, put the post up, connected all the wiring, put all the, the wiring mechanisms together in a Year 9 class. So yeah, pretty cool.
I'm wondering if we've got any other questions. Feel free to unmute yourself if you'd like to ask Jack something. That's totally okay.
Actually, I was wondering if I could ask something. Jack, originally, obviously you've got a whole lot of teachers who are, on the same wavelength as you, but did you have trouble convincing the school originally to kind of buy into the idea? Because it's quite a big setup, I imagine, and a lot of, a lot of setup with subjects across year levels and things.
Yeah, definitely. It's and with us, it's been a really slow process. So this has been happening over the last probably 5 to 10 years, getting these subjects in place. But what I would suggest, and this is just coming from my personal experience, because I got the horticulture subjects up. I'm doing the inquiry subjects at the moment with sustainability, and I also got the Year 9 horticulture projects up. Is try and get one, and then try and get some awards with that subject. So get that subject and then get some awards or get some sort of recognition. And that gives you a lot more sort of credibility when you're talking to leadership. So at the moment, when I go and talk to leadership, they go, "Oh, Jack, he's done this, he's done that. He's this person because he's won that award." Realistically, I mean, I'm no different to what I was before, but just because I've shown that I've done these things in the past. So my suggestion would be to get something up small and then work your way from that, just as a bit of a catalyst. A great example with my vet horticulture class, I got that up in Year 11. It hadn't been running for about 5 years. And then when I got that up, I made sure that I did a lot of community outreach. So one of the big problems in Footscray Park, was that a lot of the plants that were planted each year by the gardeners were stolen. So they had 1/3 of all plants that were planted there were nicked. So the gardeners were absolutely pulling their hair out. So what we did with students, we went down and we talked to the gardeners, and we said, what do you want us to propagate to help you with your gardens? And we found a list of plants, majority just salvias and buddleias, and just easy to propagate things. We propagated them, and then we put them back in the park, and we really boosted the stock of a lot of the plants that were a lot of the ball patches. And the gardeners actually gave us a few garden beds, and we maintain them still to this day. And we won a few awards from that, and it sort of just kept on rolling, and it was a great little start to the horticulture program, because you can say, "Hey, listen, Jack did this, and there's a newspaper article about it. There's this award about it. There's this, all this stuff that flows on from it." So I like I said, I recommend just getting a program up, whatever it is, and then just try and get a bit of, something behind it that you can sort of show people. Yeah, that's my suggestion.
That's fabulous. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hayden, I can see you've unmuted
No worries.
yourself.
I haven't got my wires crossed. Did Footscray get a grant maybe a year, maybe 2 years ago now, for a shipping container with to be able to recycle your own plastic into 3D printing material?
Yeah. I didn't want to go into that because it's a whole other thing. But yeah. So
okay.
So it's a good thing. Another point that I would make about trying to get your program up is just apply for everything. So like apply for any grants, apply for anything you can. One of the things that we did last year, or it was actually 2 to 3 years ago now, it was a while ago, we put in for those Pick My Project grants, and we were successful in getting a plastic recycling plus the organic composting machine. We have the composting machine there, and it takes the vast majority of the kitchen scraps from the home ec areas, like the meats and the things that you can't put in the compost. But the other cool thing was the same teacher that built the tiny house has started to set up, and it's a long process, but started to set up the precious plastic processing plants. I don't know if have you seen those precious plastics? Check them out. There's this group out of Belgium that make recycled plastic, recycled plastic things. So this year's Resource Smart Awards, I'll show you quickly, was made out of something that is kind of made from these precious plastic plants. So I'll just show you quickly. So you can see that there. They're the awards for the Resource Smart's Sustainability Awards. That is exactly what is made in precious plastic plants. It's like a block of plastic from recycled plastic bags, plus a block of plastic made from recycled plastic bottles. You can make literally anything out of them. So the colleague at work, a colleague here at Footscray, it's been a long process, but he's still doing it with Year 9 students. He's aiming to, in the long term, make his own products with students. And you can literally make anything. So one of the things with precious plastics is you can put them into a 3D printer. So if you get, Coke bottle tops, you can shred them up, put them into a 3D printer, and it will print out, whatever you want, any shape you want, really. Yeah, it's amazing. But yeah, that's another thing. That's another thing we're doing. Yeah, but like I said, just apply for everything. You don't know what you're going to get. So sometimes you don't get anything, and then other times you're really lucky and you got too much going on, like we probably have here. But anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, that was a great.
Any other questions,
Hayden?
Yeah. Any other questions?
Oh, nothing's in the chat, and no one's popping up with their hand up or turning their mic off. We might wrap it up there if we don't have any. Oh no, Frank.
Yeah, the yabbies in the tank. What's the use for the yabbies? Do you actually use them, or are they just there for,
Oh, they're just there for fun. So at down in Footscray, they sell them for about, I think it's $10 a kilo. So you can buy a fair few. So we just put a few in there, and I think they clean up the water, and they clean up any dead material that's in there. You have to be careful with yabbies though, because they do attack each other. So you have to create spaces for them to hide. Yeah, they are cannibals. So you have to be really careful with them. But no, they also, I mean, the ultimate aim is to eat the perch out of there and the fish out of there, and maybe the yabbies, but maybe not just yet. Yeah.
Let them keep working for a while longer.
Yeah, exactly. They're creating nutrients for the plants, so we'll just leave them be for a bit.
Okay, thank you.
No worries.
Hayden, did you have something else you wanted to ask?
We put yabbies into a pond system at school nearly 2 years ago now, and the original yabbies have the sort of largest ones in the pond. They'll go wandering, so I'll get a call in the morning sometimes, or someone on yard duty will come and grab me because there's a yabby trying to escape. Because I think they kind of do that naturally. They outgrow that system, so they go wandering looking for the next wetland.
So,
So bring some kids out sometimes. Just watch out if you put them in.
Wow. I think we've got a cage on ours, so hopefully they can't get out.
I don't think they're getting out of there.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
And schools think they've got bees to worry about with wandering yabbies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, well, we might wrap it up there. It's just 3 minutes away from 5 o'clock. I have to say, Jack, it was an absolute pleasure having you take us on a tour this afternoon. I don't know how everyone else is feeling, those that are from Victoria and particularly from Melbourne, being limited to our little 5K bubbles. It's wonderful to be able to see another place. We can't visit it just yet, but it's an absolute pleasure to see what's happening and that the garden's kicking along just with your care and ready for the students to come back.
Well, no, I appreciate people coming along. Sorry, it's a bit of a mess at the moment because of the kids aren't here to help me out, and the mask is a bit hard to really get stuck into telling you guys about it. But like I said, in the future, if you want to come down and visit, please let me know. I'm more than happy to show you around and just show you some of the little things. Like I said, when I was talking about the tools section, that I honestly think that's changed my life the most out of all the different things around here. You know, there's little things like that have really made a big difference to the way I do things. But more than happy to have you guys around and show you around. Yeah.
Fabulous. Well, I'm more than happy for people to email me if they want to get in touch with Jack, and I will introduce you to each other. Thank you everybody for coming along this afternoon. It was a pleasure to share this time and space with you. And we've got just one more story left next week. We're being joined by Veena Nair from Viewbank College, and she's bringing along 3 students. Again, thank you everybody for coming along this afternoon, and have a wonderful evening, and hopefully I'll see you at the next one.